Welcome, everyone. I'm Bob Sloan from Abington Meeting and graduate of Swarthmore College, class of 1979. Always gets a little scarier every time I say that as the years go by. We're very glad to have you, especially in this challenging year, and hope that this will be a event worthwhile and interesting for everyone. The event, the Quaker College Fair, the annual event, is sponsored by First Philadelphia Yearly Meeting, which provides us with our ability to do this event, whether live or virtually, as we're doing this year. They help out with all of the advertising. We have TJ Jurian as our tech host today from PYM, the yearly meeting, and we're grateful for that. Some other folks who have helped out during the year with all the background and the advertising would be Zachary Dutton and Meg Rose and Grace Cook. The other sponsoring group is the Friends Association on Higher Education. They're responsible more for the second part of the fair, where there'll be some engagement with representatives from 6 of the Quaker colleges. The folks to thank there for the work would be Kimberly Haas, who's local here in Philadelphia, and also Jim Hood, who's a professor at Guilford College, who took the final stretch to engage with the college reps and get us in a position to hear from them today. I'm going to, at this point, with the first part of the fair is going to be our panel discussion. I'm not sure if our fourth panelist, Chris Fagans, is with us yet, or hopefully he is here or will be here. But I'm going to introduce our first panelist, who is Kareem Zaga, graduate of Earlham College and presently a graduate student at the University of Leipzig. And he's going to offer the first thoughts on Quaker colleges and his things he'd like to share with you on that point. Kareem, when you're ready.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and good evening if you're also in Germany like me. I think that's pretty unlikely, but I hope you're all doing well. It's a difficult time with the pandemic, but hopefully soon, with an upcoming vaccine, things will improve for everybody. So I want to briefly introduce myself and speak about my time at Earlham and Quaker institutions overall and what I've noticed. And I can directly compare it to my current experience. Like Bob said, I was a graduate student at University of Leipzig. I fortunately graduated, and I currently work at a different university here in Germany, at the Ruhr University Bochum. And I can compare these experiences directly to Earlham because I graduated in 2017, and I immediately went to graduate school in Germany the same year, so 3 months after. So I originally come from Palestine. It's a small country. I think it's pretty well known in the US because of Jerusalem and the political conflict with Israel. But yeah, I grew up in Palestine, and I attended a small school there, a relatively small school called Ramallah Friends School. And as you can tell from the name, it's a Quaker school. And in 10th grade, I applied, well, at the end of 9th grade, I applied to a scholarship to attend a small Quaker school, also in the United States, in Philadelphia to be specific, which was the William Penn Charter School. And right, so I was basically always in Quaker institutions. I didn't know anything other than Quaker education, and naturally came Earlham College, another Quaker college. So I want to speak to 2 points of why I ended up going to Earlham and why this experience, to me personally, in terms of quality, speaks much more to educating yourself in a free way rather than studying at your normal public university in your state or going to a large university that is well known, one of the Ivies or something like that. So when I was applying to colleges, I was thinking about two things. I was thinking about the liberal arts, well, actually one thing, the liberal arts education, which to me, because my brother also went to a liberal arts school, sounded like it's going to be a good experience because of the size of the college that you attend and the freedom that you have as a student once you leave high school to choose your major. It can be quite stressful when you're applying to college to think of a major that's going to decide the rest of your life when you're not exactly sure what you're passionate about and you're not exactly sure what you want to do for the rest of your life. So my brother told me, why don't you go to a liberal arts school? So I applied to 10 schools, 11, 12. Eventually, I chose Earlham because of the Quaker values that were instilled in me throughout my previous education, which was focused on justice and simplicity. Like I said, I grew up in Palestine, so the ideals of justice spoke very highly to me. And because of the Quakers' history in the United States and around the world, this was an attractive option to me because of the values that focus on helping people that may be underprivileged in comparison to you, and also uplifting your own community in ways that you make sure that you are aware of your privilege and that you are not above anyone else. So those were the two decisions that helped me choose Earlham. Once I started attending Earlham, it became easier for me why there couldn't be a better choice. Earlham is a small school where by the end of your second year, you'll end up recognizing every student at least by face on campus. If a high school student is visiting, you'll immediately be able to notice them, that they don't go there. So this was great for me because of the size of the school. You get to know every single student. And on top of that, the professors there live pretty much on campus or in the surrounding area. So they've basically devoted all their career to go to a small town in Indiana, which there isn't much there other than the college. So these professors have dedicated their careers and their lives to being with these students and to working closely with them. If you're a professor in a city like Philadelphia, you could be living in the suburbs. You don't have to engage with the students. You have multiple research projects anywhere else. But in a Quaker college, you're living there. And the bachelor students that attend the college are basically the people that you work with the most. So not only are you close with the students and are able to interact with students from different majors and even take classes with them, you're also able to work closely with professors in a professional sense, but also in a social sense. By the end of my fourth year, I was easily able to text a professor and say, hey, do you want to grab dinner or do you want to grab lunch? Because you can develop friendships, not just professional relationships with these professors. Like I said, they dedicate their lives to these colleges. How am I doing on time? I wanna.
You're doing fine.
All right. Yeah. So those are the 2 points that I noticed that helped me kind of reach my true potential at Earlham. Another thing that I want to speak to, and I already mentioned it briefly, is I had no idea what I was going to study in college and what I was truly passionate about. I remember my first meeting with my advisor, and I asked him, so how do I navigate? So basically you get a list of classes, and I was asking him, how do I navigate all these classes? How do I figure out what classes do I want to take? How do I make a schedule? He literally told me, pick any classes that you like and let's try to work out the times. And I was like, what about graduating in 4 years? And he's like, don't worry, you will manage. Obviously during your second and third year, you will have to actually stick to a schedule. But the first year was so free for me that I ended up taking classes from so many different disciplines And through that, I was able to choose the majors that I liked the most. I ended up majoring in psychology, and I designed my own minor, which is now, I think, is a minor that you don't have to design anymore by yourself. But I ended up designing my own minor, meaning that this minor didn't exist as a program at Earlham, but you could, with your advisor, pick different classes that could create this minor. So I ended up minoring in Middle East Studies, and through that, I took classes from the history department, from the politics department, from the religious studies department, and I did my study abroad experience, which was in India, and I tied it back to my minor. So again, because of my professor's advice, I figured out I don't only like one thing, I like a bunch of fields, and I ended up studying within these fields. And this will help you, and this helped me and will help other students that go to these Quaker colleges or small colleges also, because you're not only studying one field and proficient in one field. You can eventually, if you decide to focus on a certain area, you can say that you have experience in this area because you've taken these classes, you've done an internship there. So that part spoke the most to me and on why I prefer Earlham to other educational experiences. In comparison, I loved my experience at Leipzig University, a university here in Germany, but it's much more rigid, meaning you have a topic that you're going to study, a bunch of classes that are selected for you, and you go and you work. And basically the professors there have bigger projects. They're heads of institutes, and you might not work so closely with them. And for some classes, you have or PhD students teaching you rather than professors. At a college like Earlham, these are professors that have worked and published in the field for sometimes over 30 or 40 years. So that's another thing that I can directly compare. So yeah, the freedom of choosing was what spoke to me most. And I think Earlham is different from a lot of the other colleges with the amount of international students that it has. This was very important for me because I lived in multiple countries. I lived in Palestine, but I also traveled to other countries in the Middle East regularly. And living in the United States when I was 15 was also a huge change for me. So having international students around me was very important. And Earlham ranks as one of the highest percentages of international students. So this was also very, very integral to my time at Earlham. And because of the freedom to choose classes, you're not just forming social relationships with people that study psychology with you or any other major. You're taking different classes from different fields. So for example, one class that I will never forget is called Physics for Future Presidents. So it's a class that is based on a scientific field, and I mostly was taking social science classes, but it's a class in the science department, but it has a social aspect to it. And because of this, it was easy to tie in with the other classes. And I'm not taking it only with physics students. I'm taking it with students coming from the history department. I'm taking it with so basically students from all majors can take whatever classes they want. Like I said, eventually you will have to have a 4-year plan that you work out and finish your credits on time, but you still have the freedom to take any class that you want. And in other universities, big universities, you will feel often frustrated that I feel like learning Spanish, for example, but you can't because it doesn't really work because you're studying biology. Or I want to go to Japan for a semester, but it doesn't really work again because you're studying biology. But Earlham has all these study abroad programs and different programs that you can tie in through a lens of example. Social justice is very important at Earlham, that you can tie in different classes like the Physics for Future Presidents to what you're actually interested in. Yeah. So I am very happy with my choice, and I encourage all students to apply to Earlham, and from my visits to other colleges like Haverford or Swarthmore, whenever I spoke to students there, it seemed like a pretty comparative experience, because the Quaker values are instilled in these colleges, regardless if they're still considered Quaker or if they're historically Quaker. You can see it in the syllabus, you can see it in the mindset of the professors and their focus points in their classes.
Well, thank you, Kareem. I think very valuable insights for our audience of students trying to come up with a way of looking at these things. I neglected to offer our tech host, TJ, to suggest if there's anything the audience needs to know at this point for better engagement. I jumped right into Kareem without letting you say anything further. You need to say, TJ, wanted to offer that to you now.
Sure thing. I'll go ahead and really quickly share a slide of just a couple of reminders. I'm sure many folks here don't need these reminders, as we've been in Zoom land for a little longer than all of us thought to be. But just in case, just a very quick tech review with some instructions if you need them. You might have noticed that this session is being recorded. And so this is another reason, in case there's background noise where you are, to please stay muted if you are not speaking, so that the background noise can be minimized in the recording. If you're not sure how to do that, you can click on the microphone icon on your menu bar to mute or unmute yourself. And if you're just joining by phone, you can use *6 to do the same thing. If you need to change your name or add any additional information, such as pronouns, you might have noticed that next to my name, it says tech and he, him. Then you can do that in a couple of ways. You can either look at your image on the grid and hover over it until you see 3 dots. One of the options that will show up when you click on those 3 dots will say rename, and you select that and rename yourself or add whatever information you'd like. You can also go to the participants list from the menu bar below and then do the same thing by hovering over your name in the participants list. You can also, if you'd like to speak and don't want to just mute or unmute yourself, you can raise or lower your electronic hand, and so we can see that you're wanting to speak. So you can do that from the participants list again. You scroll to the very bottom of that list and you'll see a hand icon. So when you click on that, it will raise the hand for you and or lower it if it's already raised. If you want to do that by phone, *9 will have the same impact. And then if you have any questions or need any sort of tech support, you can send a private message to me via chat. And so again, on the menu bar, you select chat, send me a private message, and I'll be happy to help out. Or if you get kicked off for some reason, you can email me at tjjurian@pym.org. And as soon as I unshare the screen, I will put that in the chat so folks have that. So thank you.
Thank you, TJ. Our next panelist to speak will be, I think we perhaps unfortunately do not have Christopher Fagans. Am I correct on that? He was going to be another Earlham College graduate to talk about his recent experience there.
That is correct.
Okay, if that, we'll hope that maybe he'll join us later, but in that case, our next panelist will be Hallie Charlone of Delaware Valley Friends School.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks for joining us this morning, my friends. My name is Hallie Charlone. I use the pronouns she, her, and I am the Director of College Counseling at Delaware Valley Friends School outside of Philadelphia. We are located on the main line. If you've ever been on the train to go into Philadelphia and you go to the Paoli station, that's where we are. We are right behind the Paoli station, to give you a geographic context there. I'm excited to speak with you today. I've spoken at the Quaker College Fair in years past when we were at Arch Street. And I was thinking about this in a little bit different lens, thinking about, it's a chance to talk about trends and things that we as college counselors are thinking about. At Delaware Valley Friends School, we have the dual mission of serving students both from a Quaker philosophy as well as serving students who learn differently. So we are one of the 2 schools who serve students who learn differently, 2 Quaker schools who serve students who learn differently in all 3 divisions. In the country, it's us and Mary McDowell Friends in Brooklyn. And I was thinking about this in preparation, and I was thinking that, I think this is a great time to ask questions about the college process, but I'd love to reserve that for when we have kind of Q&A. If there's direct questions, I'm happy to speak about applying to college with that Quaker sense in mind. But I want to take this time to speak with you about some things that I've been thinking about as I've been counseling my students. And a big theme for me that's emerged recently is community, and thinking about the testimony of community. Not only the community of how are we supporting one another during this time locally and globally, but also from an educational perspective. And in thinking about advising my students last spring as they were choosing colleges, and now advising my students as they're looking at colleges and applying, again, the theme and the testimony of community and fit has risen to the top in a lot of my conversations. And I'm breaking down, as I look at it, as it fits very much into culture and thinking about the culture of an institution. And with the Quaker colleges, I think there is very much a shared culture of community, yet it also differs with the individual institutions that we talk about, and breaking those into kind of 3 sub areas. One being the culture with students, one being the culture with faculty, and the other with the community beyond the campus. So I think it's important for students, as you're looking at the option of Quaker colleges, to figure out, how do I gauge the culture at a campus, right? And how do I do that? And I think we're provided with, if I may, a silver lining of sorts with this. And I'm trying to find silver linings in this as I'm, my virtual second grader most of the days, and I'm trying to figure out my own students. It's a whole unique position that we're in here. But I think we really are provided the unique opportunity to have meaningful conversations with colleges via this unique platform that we're now in. And I kind of hope in some ways that this allows for additional equity work to happen, so that students who can't travel, I'm thinking of Kareem, when you were looking at colleges, you couldn't just pop in to go visit a college, it's across the world. So students who are either local or international, I think we're provided with this online platform now to really have meaningful conversations. So what are those meaningful conversations? How can you gauge a culture? So I think having conversations with students, one thing that I have noticed is that a lot of admissions offices are creating events where you can engage, and I'm speaking to you, meaning the students. Students, you are the drivers. I like to use a visual when I present to my students of a student in a car. You are driving this car. Your guardian, your parents, your family are in the car with you. They are providing you the insurance. They are allowing you to take the keys. And then the counselors, we are the mechanics. Some folks might use us once a year for their inspection, and some folks might come to us once a week because either you crashed your car or you just like to talk and have a new coat of paint on, and that's okay. And the admissions counselors at the colleges, your bonus counselors, and your high school college counselors, we're there as well as your mechanics behind the scenes. So engaging in those meaningful conversations. A lot of these colleges are creating these student interactions where you can talk directly with the student in a particular major, in a particular club. Recently, I was able to have a student get together with another student at a college who wanted to learn more about a particular sports team, who wanted to also learn more about an art program. And they were able to take them on a FaceTime tour of a studio, So we're all trying to figure out these creative ways to engage in our communities. But I think a big part of that comes down to advocacy. We speak a lot about advocacy with my students from a learning disability perspective and a learning difference perspective. But I think for all students, self-advocacy is one of the telltale signs of success, in my opinion. The students who can advocate both from a needs and a wants perspective, to me, are the ones who tend to be the most successful with the transition to college. And I have found that, especially with our small liberal arts and our Quaker colleges, that is heightened because there is a sense of wanting to advocate. As Kareem was speaking about his unique minor, that to me is an example of advocacy. It's thinking about what do you want and how to make that happen. And that brings me to my second point about gauging cultures with faculty. Kareem gave a great example about a faculty mentor who was able to advise him to seek out educational opportunities and challenges based on what he wanted, and allow for that freedom of choice. Gauging culture when it comes to the college search process, engage with faculty. It might be intimidating though, to be a 16, 17, 18-year-old on a Zoom with a veteran professor that's scary. Even as an adult, I think it's intimidating to talk to folks that way sometimes. But recognizing that we're all in this kind of unique, crazy time, and that there is grace. The colleges are really, in my opinion, leading with a lot of grace and kindness in this process right now. So asking for the interactions that you'd like. Gauging the culture also, I love to hear how colleges speak about their faculty interaction. You know, it's not just a quantitative number of I think the schools who provide a lot of student research, which our Quaker colleges really do a lot of, they funnel their resources, not just their monetary resources, but their intellectual and their mental resources into the students. Sounds like I've lost my audio a little bit. I'm sorry. I can go back slightly. So I was talking about the faculty interaction and that the Quaker colleges really do funnel a lot of their resources towards the students, the undergrad students. So that is one of those, when you're gauging your criteria, maybe looking at what amount of resources are funneled to undergraduate research and that faculty-student interaction. Personally, I love to hear stories about, you know, students who are babysitting for faculty kids, you know, faculty who come to the student dining halls, the faculty who are engaged with students when it comes to just knowing about their lives and what's going on. To me, that speaks a lot about the culture of a community and uplifting that testimony that we have. I think you'll see as you speak to more and more colleges, obviously our Quaker College Consortium really does a great job of that, but that could be a good gauge if you are looking beyond the Quaker colleges as well to gauge kind of what options are out there for you. The third key piece of culture that I wanted to touch on was the community beyond the campus. I think with the COVID crisis and the college shutdowns and even the high school shutdowns and virtual learning, we've seen a lot about what goes on behind the scenes. In some ways, this curtain has been pulled back when it comes to administrative decisions, when it comes to community engagement. While we might, as outsiders, get to know all the details that happen at college campuses, I think it's important to look at how an institution responded to this crisis. I think it's important to look at how they supported the infrastructure, how they supported folks on their campus beyond tenured faculty and senior level administrators. How did they treat the dining hall workers? How did they treat the community around the campus? You know, there are campuses for whom the entire town treats the, oh, my sound keeps going down. I'm sorry, my internet must not be great today. I live in Southern Chester County. We have one internet provider. So we tend to get a little bit iffy down here in rural Southern Chester County. So what I was speaking about was the towns and how the college interacts with their town. And looking at the COVID response and the community support of the college. To me, the Quaker colleges will not just focus on their college, but they'll also focus on the entire surrounding community. And that speaks very much to that. So I think, you know, if I could leave you with some tips, thinking about how to connect. So personal advocacy and asking for what you want from the college reps in terms of conversations and meeting particular stakeholders is going to be important. And being okay and comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable to sit on a Zoom call with a professor, but if you're interested in learning more about a particular field, that might be an important piece in your decision-making process because you might not have time to have campus tours as much right now due to travel restrictions and other health and safety measures. And again, just leaving you with the meaningful conversations and hoping to engage with kind of community conversation. Again, I'm happy to answer further questions about the process as we go through this. I am going to kind of wrap up though right now, Bob, because it sounds like my internet is unstable, so we can certainly pass it on. But if you want me to circle back afterwards, I'm happy to do that.
I think we'll have an opportunity for that. And thank you, Hallie, for the practical advice and focused on the current crisis and complications. I think our audience certainly appreciates that aspect. I'm going to assume we're still not connected with Christopher Fagans, which means our next panelist will be Danny Whittles from Swarthmore College Admissions.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to keep my portion of this panel short, if possible. Because I think one of the large value adds of this type of environment is the ability for attendees to ask questions of us, and want to leave as much time for questions as possible. But B, I think Kareem and Hallie have done a really nice job of touching on the things that I would have otherwise said. And so don't want to bore you with the same repetition over and over again. When it comes to finding the right college for you or for your child, depending on who you may happen to be in this session, those things that my co-panelists have touched on already, I think are really the valuable things to be digging a little deeper into. So Hallie mentioned, the way in which a community operates in general, and not just during normal times, and not just for one individual student. And I think that really sets Quaker institutions apart from many other colleges and universities, because we have that heritage of understanding community, understanding all of the Quaker principles of lack of hierarchical structures and bringing people together, and just the fact that we call each other friends all the time, and really aids in the way in which various Quaker colleges, and I can only speak for Swarthmore specifically, but the way in which we address challenges, whether that be a big global challenge like a pandemic, or a more personal challenge like a student who develops mental health struggles while on campus, or a student who has concerns about their academic path, and towards the middle of their senior year decide they want to add on a new major, or whatever it might happen to be. So speaking from a more personal level, in terms of the way Swarthmore is operating, all of the various commitments and principles that Swarthmore have continued through this pandemic. So we have not, for example, changed our financial aid policies in any way, and still are committed to equity and access for any student that we choose to admit. The college has tried to make the community aspect of Swarthmore maintained throughout this pandemic, despite the fact that only half of our students are currently on campus. So hosting a variety of virtual events and club meetings for current students on campus. The way in which we might address personal issues or tragedies as well, I think is really important. So all of these things, I think, are, if nothing else, I think to this time is a really important case study in the way in which you might receive support on a variety of campuses. And I would imagine that looking at the way that not only Swarthmore, but our Quaker peers are operating might give you a sense of the value of the way in which those schools would operate even in a more normal time. So I'm happy to continue talking about whether it be Swarthmore specifically. I'm happy to talk about the ways in which Quaker communities may approach admissions and the financial aid process. Happy to also address any other questions you may have. But as I said, I wanted to keep this on the shorter end and leave as much time for your questions as possible. So Bob, I hope it's okay that I didn't take all 10 minutes that I was allotted, but wanted to throw it to all of you to hopefully address the things that are on your mind.
Well, thank you, Danny, for the engagement again at the practical level of letting our audience know how to connect with colleges and faculty and students at this particular time. Just one more thing I've noticed, Betsy Crofts is with us today. She has long been very supportive of the Quaker College Fair and engaged with it. Always happy to see her. And not to put you on the spot, Betsy, but if you'd like to just say anything before we move on to question and answer period, feel free. I'm taking that as a no.
Right, I'm with Danny. Let's invite questions. But thank you for the greeting, Bob. I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. And the only other thing I wanted to say was, if any of the panelists want to react to what anyone else has said, I usually give that opportunity. Sometimes one panelist's thought triggers something in another one, and if there's anything there, please add that, or we can move on. And my only other question, TJ, I take it in our relatively small group, it would be all right for our audience just to unmute and ask a question, if that's preferable.
Yes, please go ahead. I think we'll be able to manage that well.
All right, I think our panelists are ready for questions from the audience, and we hope you will not be shy and ask away. Please.
Hi, I'm Leela Betts, member of Central Philadelphia Monthly Meeting. And yeah, I wanted to thanks Danny for mentioning the financial aid. I went to my son's a junior, and I went to a college thing recently that said, times are really tight for many universities. So that's, worrisome. So if you could speak to anything we can do or any tips, please.
Yeah, obviously the assumption, at least at Swarthmore, is that financial aid is not going to be, in some ways it will be very normal this year, in that we have committed to the same principles and meeting full need and being what is called need blind, which for those of you who don't know what that term means, it means not looking at whether or not you need financial aid when determining whether or not to admit you. But we also believe it to be not normal because millions of Americans have lost their jobs. The income that you might have been taking home at this time last year may be very significantly different from the income you're taking home right now. And as a result of that, my guess is that depending on which schools you're applying to, depending on which types of schools you're being admitted to, the financial aid crunch may be very real this year. Schools are not, do not have unlimited sources of funds. You might look at a school's endowment and say, oh my God, you have billions of dollars. Why don't you just suck it up and do the same thing? But that's not an unlimited source of money. And so you're right that financial aid may be a little bit different this year. What I recommend doing is being proactive about that. So recently, the federal government changed the system so that students and families are submitting financial documents from the prior tax year. So you'd submit your tax documents that you filed in 2020 rather than the ones that you are filing in 2021. And as a result of that, we expect a lot of people to also submit supplemental information to say, hey, in the year of 2019 and the taxes that I filed in 2020, my income was this, but that is not my financial situation anymore. And so if that is something that will impact you, if your family's financial situation has changed considerably in the last year, being proactive is helpful. Many schools, especially small liberal arts schools, of which most of the Quaker schools that you'll be hearing from fit into that category, like to package financial aid at the same time that you receive your decision or very soon thereafter, but we can only do so with the information we have. So proactively reaching out and saying, well, here's my situation, here's what's changed compared to what I'm required to file, will help us give you that appropriate financial aid package immediately and allow you to avoid the possibility of submitting an appeal or not getting your package back at the time of admission. And that way you have as much time as possible to compare financial aid offers from a variety of schools. So I will also defer to Hallie a little bit for how she might be counseling her families, in regards to financial aid. But I think trying to be as proactive and upfront as possible will, lead to the best possible outcome, even if that outcome may have changed a little bit this year in comparison to years past, depending on what school you might be applying to.
Yeah, I agree. Danny totally nailed it there. I do want to apologize. My audio keeps cutting in and out. Again, my poor internet here. We're making a call to Xfinity after this. One other little tidbit about financial aid, and I missed a little bit of the beginning of the question. One thing that I've been telling my families is a unique year of, I keep calling it casting a wide net, and where in the past, maybe we've been looking at a list of like 4 to 6 more reasonable colleges that, because of both the financial uncertainty as well as the general uncertainty of not visiting and have that traditional path, casting maybe a little bit larger of a net in terms of applications might be worthwhile because we have the time. And I think students oftentimes forget as seniors that you don't have to know everything on October, what are we on, the 17th today? And it's okay. And it's okay to change your mind. And as I mentioned before, I really do think the colleges are leading with a lot of grace and understanding right now. I was recently speaking with a colleague at a non-Quaker, but a small liberal arts college on the western part of Pennsylvania. And she was saying that, they have always had procedures for reevaluating financial aid. There's always been procedures for when something comes up, because you are submitting the prior year taxes. We know people's 2020 taxes are going to be probably vastly different than other years. So that process has always been there. It's just more heightened and maybe almost brought to the forefront a little bit more right now as a more open conversation. So knowing that it's okay to have those conversations. And as a parent, I think it's important to have an honest conversation with the children about finances.
Uh-oh. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Conversations about finances are important. And I will also type some tips into the text box, okay?
Thank you, Hallie. Other thoughts on that aspect? Do we have other questions from the audience? Hopefully we do. We still have a little more time.
Yeah, hi. My name is Amelia Grissom. I just had a quick question because I've noticed that a lot of colleges that I've been looking at recently are advertising a lot of very similar values, specifically like tightness of the community and other values that are associated with Quakerism, even though they are not necessarily Quaker colleges. So I'm just curious, how in a Quaker college those values come out more strongly, even though other colleges advertise that stuff as well. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So I can step in as the college representative here. There are lots of values that 99 out of 100 schools in America will say that they share. You'll hear all about collaboration, for example, and our students aren't competitive with each other. And that's often true, but not always. And so the follow-up is basically exactly what you've asked, just in a slightly different way, depending on the school, which is, okay, you say that you value equity. You say that you value community. You say that you value whatever the buzzword of the day might happen to be. How do you actually instill those values? And what sorts of policies and programs do you have in place in order to facilitate them? So, for example, again, I'm only speaking for Swarthmore, but our first semester at Swarthmore is graded entirely pass-fail. And we do that to allow students to transition to the school, learn what it takes to be successful, but also to help to instill the mindset that grades aren't the be-all, end-all. We don't want students competing with each other for a different grade. That is not a policy that necessarily extends to all of our Quaker peers, but there are, I'm sure, are similar types of policies. You know, my guess is that most Quaker institutions don't have any sort of class rank because you don't want to give students ammunition to be able to compare themselves with each other. Or most of us, I can't speak for all Quaker institutions, but most of us that I'm familiar with are what's considered cash-free campuses. So that allows students to access all that the campus has to offer. You know, Kareem talked about his experience at Earlham and allowing students to study abroad. You know, the fact that financial aid carries with you as you study abroad is part of that commitment to equity and access as well. So, and that also applies to Swarthmore. So it's those specific policies that might distinguish, you know, a college being able to say that it holds certain values and actually demonstrating that it does. But there's also a reason that all of these schools at least state that they share the same values, and that's because they're good values, right? Most people believe in access. Most people believe in diversity. Most people believe in building a community, especially when you're looking at small liberal arts colleges. So I would say that the question to ask for any specific school is, okay, you say you have these values, now show me the ways in which you're, you know, actually putting those into practice. But, you know, these values are not, you're right, they're not exclusive to Quaker institutions. And, you know, we cannot sit here and say that, you know, Swarthmore, Haverford, Earlham, et cetera, are the only schools in the country that, you know, believe in those sorts of things. So yeah, I'll see if anyone else has anything to add, but I would say that following up and asking the how is the important factor to discerning whether a school is really committed to those things that it says it is.
I can add to this as well. I thought this was a great summary. So Amelia, thank you for the question. I want to say something. So colleges can have a lot of phrases or slogans, like you said, and these are marketing strategies that they follow, which is trendy and everyone speaks about them. But what you have to remember is the student body also compromises or makes up a lot of the values that the college, what they're representing. So going to Earlham, as soon as I was finishing up my first year, you start learning the history of student activism on campus. And not only are they active for conflicts that or issues that come up in the US, but they're active with regards to issues from all over the world. I remember my first year, I saw a protest, and the protest was in solidarity with the workers that work in the cafeteria on campus. So students start with activism slowly for things on campus, and then another protest a few weeks later highlighting the events in Palestine, and then you see students highlighting the events in Tibet. So students who do go to Earlham, and I can only speak for Earlham here because I've only been to Earlham, have interests already when they apply to these schools in social justice and issues that they care about. So when they go to this campus, they can utilize a lot of the phrases or slogans that the university proclaims itself to have. And if the college listens to the students, and in Earlham and in many colleges, sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But in comparison to a big university, not only will you find yourself clashing with, or not clashing, this is not the right word, but like having arguments with staff members from the university, you will find yourself also around students who are not interested in these topics or just neutral. This is not what they care about. They came to study biology and move on. Students who go to Earlham, from my experience, even if they didn't have an interest in social justice in their first year, by the time they're a second year student, this is what they're mostly interested in. This is what they're talking about. Even if they came as a football player from Kentucky and have never met an international student and have never even heard about Palestine, by the second year, because of the freedom of taking classes and the amount of diversity on these campuses, they're exposed to these ideas, and naturally, because they created friendships from all over the world and with different interests, they start caring about these issues. So I think, yes, there are a lot of empty slogans, but I think what Quaker institutions do better is that the student body that they hold has this interest when they're applying, and if they're not interested, the conditions for someone to be socially engaged already exist in these colleges.
Thank you, Kareem. We are about at the point where we were going to transition to the second part of the fair, engagement with several college representatives. But before we do that and excuse our panelists, any further questions that anyone would like to ask? Still all right to do so. Okay. Well,
Can I add one
sure.
last point before
Please.
we finish?
Please.
Something that I loved at Quaker colleges, and I think this will speak to a lot of students here, at least this spoke to me as an international when I was their age, is that from movies, or maybe from when you visited your siblings at other universities, other huge universities, there's almost, at least in movies, there's almost like, it seems like there's a hierarchy in social status among students, with frats and sororities. Something that I really loved at Earlham is the lack, or there isn't an existence of these frats and sororities, and through this, instead there's theme houses, and they can be culturally based or based on a certain interest. So I lived in Middle East house, for example, and believe it or not everyone was from the Middle East who lived there. But this kind of removes the hierarchy that existed in high school among students. If you're the athlete, you're at the top of the social pyramid, or these kind of weird boxes that students are in schools do not really exist in Quaker colleges, and everyone finds their place pretty quickly and pretty easily, I would say, because of the size and the nature of the community that exists there. So yeah, sorry to jump in with the last comment.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Any other closing thoughts from Danny or Hallie?
Thank you for attending. I put my email in the chat box if anyone wants to reach out afterwards, and just best of luck to our students and our families on the call. You guys are really in a unique position, and I applaud you.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck everyone, and thanks for coming today. And by the time that you are all enrolling in college, hopefully we are back to normal as much as possible. So good luck this year.
Thank you, Danny Whittles, Swarthmore College, Hallie Sailorone of Delaware Valley Friends School, and Kareem Zaga of Earlham College and University of Leipzig, and now the Workaday World. Thank you all, and under our agreement, I'm going to let our panelists feel free to log off and leave us, and we're going to transition to our engagement with our college reps, I say with fingers crossed. Thank you. And I will, maybe I'll indicate, I don't know if TJ has anything else he needs to let us know at this point. We had planned to do breakout sessions for the individual colleges. Because of our relatively modest attendance today, we thought it would make more sense to stay in our current format and allow each of our college representatives to engage, do a short presentation if they would like, although they're not required, and also have a question and answer period. So really, we thought we would proceed more or less along the lines that we've been doing for this first part of the fair. And I'll just check if TJ has anything further he wants to tell us at the tech end of things at this point.
No, just a reminder to private chat me, because since we've had newer folks join us, either private chat me or send me an email, and I'll remind folks of the email in the chat if you have any tech issues and need assistance. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, TJ. And I am hoping that our college reps are with us. Again, there's very good reason that TJ is with us, because this is not my forte, the Zoom or tech matters in general. But what I thought I would do is invite, we have 6 scheduled representatives. I was just going to one by one invite them to offer thoughts. And I'm just going to go from my list. Morgan Hill from Guilford College. If he's with us, I'm going to.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Bob. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Absolutely. I actually just sent TJ a message as well. I do have a couple of slides that I could share with you guys just to give you a few visuals, if that would be all right. But thank you all so much for joining us this early afternoon on a Saturday and taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn about different Quaker colleges within the United States. Thank you, TJ. I appreciate it. Also, hello to Jim. Jim Hood is a fellow Guilfordian on the call today, so it's nice to have a familiar face, but nice to meet you all as well. So Guilford is located in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm not entirely sure where this group is coming from today, but I'm here in North Carolina right now and just want to say hello. From the South, but we are in Greensboro, which is the 3rd largest city within North Carolina. We're kind of located in between the Charlotte and Raleigh area. So our area provides a lot of people, a lot of growth, and a lot of opportunity for our students. At Guilford, we do have about 1,400 students that comprise our student body, and our average class size is approximately 14. One of the things that I really appreciated Kareem speaking of earlier was just how engaged the student body is at Guilford, and how students that come and maybe they haven't met so many people with different backgrounds have the opportunity to do that throughout their college experience. That's something that I've been privileged to see at Guilford through our student body as well. And I've met so many different people myself since I've been at Guilford. We have students from 38 different states and 16 different countries on our campus, and just over 40% students of color that comprise our student body as well. We do have over 40 majors at Guilford, but just to give you kind of an idea of where a larger portion of our student body fall when it comes to majors, our students are falling within our business administration program, psychology program, biology and health sciences program, criminal justice, and sports studies as well. Like I said, you know, Guilford has many majors from all across the liberal arts, the social sciences, the natural sciences, the humanities, and whatever fits best for you is what we want you to explore. You do have approximately 2 years to declare a major at Guilford, so you certainly don't have to know at the beginning. We also have over 50 student-led clubs. Those fall within the academic realm, the social realm, the religious realm. There's a lot of opportunities for students to be involved and become leaders both in and outside of the classroom. For athletics, we're Division III athletics at Guilford. sports like football, basketball, soccer, softball, baseball, things of that nature. And we do have approximately 42% student athletes on campus. I know I'm going a little bit quick this morning, you guys, but I want to make sure that
All right.
whereas you have the opportunity to learn about Guilford, you also have the opportunity to learn from some of the other great schools this morning. So I appreciate you sticking with us. Just a few things to bring to light that are unique about Guilford. We do have a unique semester calendar that incorporates a 3-week class into both the fall and the spring semester. Your fall 3-week class actually starts your year, and your spring 3-week class actually ends your year. Outside of the 3-week class, you'll take 3 classes at the same time for a duration of 12 weeks. But the neat thing about the 3-week courses is that it really gives students the opportunity to have a hands-on and non-traditional approach to learning. We have classes that travel abroad, classes that travel to different cities within the United States, or students have the opportunity to do internships during that time as well. Of course, if you choose, you can also be on campus taking a class as well. And we do partner students with multiple advisors throughout their time on campus. We want to make sure that students are supported from within, that you have the resources that you need to be successful. So students have 2 Guilford guides. Those are our advisors on campus. One that specializes in academics, one that specializes in career advising. And then of course, you're also partnered with a professor from your chosen program of study to serve you as an advisor as well. Your experience is so important at Guilford. We want to provide you with an opportunity to make many, many new friends, meet many new people, and make Guilford a second home for you. One campus tradition that we like to bring light to when talking with prospective students about Guilford is our campus tradition called Serendipity. It is for lack of a better word, it is a music festival or a week of fun, kind of a spring fling for Guilford College students. Things like comedy shows, color wars, lake festivals that culminates in a weekend full of musical acts and musical experiences for students. The majority of our students live on campus, although we do have some students that commute from the local areas. We also have lots of community support for students through our Learning and Writing Center, our Accessibility Resource Center, and our counseling services on campus. Just to share a bit about the application process, if any of you guys are seniors or juniors and will be getting there soon, it's always free to apply to Guilford. In addition to your application, we need your transcript, a summary of your extracurricular activities, service and leadership experiences, a personal essay, which is just an opportunity for you to share about yourself, and also either your SAT, ACT scores, or a test optional essay where you can write about one of Guilford's core values, or you can email your admission counselor a paper from high school that you've written for, English class, maybe psychology class, history class, and that can also take the place of your test scores if you haven't had an opportunity to take those tests, or if that's just not the best fit for you. All right, guys, well, here is my contact information. Like I said, I know that was brief, but don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions that you have, and I appreciate your attention to learn a little bit more about Guilford this morning. I'll stick around for the Q&A, so if you guys have any questions, just let me know, but we'll pass it on to the next college. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Morgan. Very spirited presentation. I'm going to invite Terrence Blackburn, Long Island University Global, I hope.
That's right. Thank you very much. I'm here, and actually I have 2 of my students as well who were intending to join in the breakout session, so I'll try not to take too much time so they can have a couple minutes to chat as well. So let me just start. I'm the dean of the college, and I also would like to start with a share screen. Would you give me permission for that? It's showing I'm not allowed.
You have access now, Terrence. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right. And where did it go? Show all the windows. We'll get back here. There we are. It's just easier so I don't have to talk as much. You can read as we go along. So let's start it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So just a little history first. Although we are now Long Island University Global College, the Global College was founded as a Quaker institution. It was founded back in 1965 by a group of Quakers who were very, very committed to educating their students to be global citizens, to be citizens of the world. And they started the program that wasn't even a college at that point, but an educational experience that took students all over the world. And that was later formalized as an accredited college by 1970. And it then became affiliated with Long Island University in 1991 and was in one of their other campuses, and came inside as the Global College in 2007. So we still carry some of the Quaker traditions. And when I came in a year ago, I was surprised at the very first meeting with the students that they referred to Quaker traditions and started with moments of silent reflection and so forth. So the Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies still follows the basic tradition of the original Friends World College, in that we take our students around the world, and they spend 7 of their 8 semesters outside of the United States, and with an integrated series of courses that in large part focus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And again, I'm going to run through fast on this. I'm quite happy to chat more later with folks. Essentially, we start by looking at the world's problems and solutions to those problems through 4 key lenses: governance, economics, culture, and environment. And the students at the same time are able to earn minors in international relations and entrepreneurship, arts and communications, and Spanish. So quickly, how do we do that? We bounce around the world. The first year, we are resident the entire year in Costa Rica, the second year in Europe, the third year in Australia or China, and the fourth year in other parts of the world. And I'll break that out just a little bit for you. First year is in Costa Rica, where the students stay in homestays with the families. And their coursework includes their first 2 foundational global studies courses in environment and governance. There's intensive Spanish. We have intensive writing programs, and they start learning qualitative research in the very first semester. And day trips within Costa Rica and an extended trip to Panama, to one of the indigenous semi-autonomous regions there at the end of their second semester to conduct independent research. The second year, we take them to Europe, and we are in outside of Madrid in the first semester. And in the second semester, we're in Florence, and we study the 2 other foundational global studies courses in economics and in culture. And our students this year, well, if they had been able to go to Spain, all of our first year students were tested by Alcalá University in Alcalá, Spain, as being fully ready to study entirely in Spanish in their second year. And we have extended day trips there, and I will let Caitlin Epstein, one of our students, talk a bit about that in a minute. But moving on, the third year, the students have a choice. The first choice is Australia, living in beach houses independently, global studies courses. There's training in their junior research seminar, which is key for their senior year success. And the field trips go to terrible places like New Zealand, Fiji, Bali, and the Outback, and so forth. And the alternative is that they go to Hangzhou, China, which is south of Shanghai. And there at Zhejiang University, they will study intensive Mandarin, regional studies courses, and again, the junior research seminar. And they travel within China. They are in Hong Kong, they're in Taiwan. They're in Yunnan province in the west to study ethnic minorities, an extraordinary experience. So then their fourth year, the students have their independent research and internship semester, and they basically can choose to go almost anywhere in the world. we have 20 centers that they're able to go to, or partners that they can go to, and some people don't even use those. And they are conducting an intense, extended independent research and an internship and building toward their senior theses. And their last semester is the only semester they're in the United States. They come to the Brooklyn campus of Long Island University, complete their senior thesis, a capstone course, another smaller internship, and elective courses to help fill out their minors. So that's the essential nature of the program. I can post up, since that doesn't have it, I can post up contact information into the chat. But let me turn this over first to Caitlin, who can talk just for a couple minutes about the Europe experience. I wanted you to get a little experience from the student perspective. And then I have Daniela Salinas, who is in our first year program. So Caitlin?
Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Epstein and I am currently a senior with LIU Global. Right now I am living in Northern California working with an Indigenous-led magazine while conducting participant ethnographic research on the display in a time of crisis. Yeah, through my experience with Global, I've been able to live and study in 6 different countries. I have done study trips to 8 different countries, and in my free time in and surrounding semesters, my own and my classmates, I have traveled to 16 additional countries. Yeah, as part of the Europe year, my sophomore year with Global, I lived just outside of Madrid in Spain, and I was able to have an internship with an organization called Awesome that aids refugees, and I was able to conduct participatory research as a sophomore in my undergraduate university career on the obstacles that immigrant women face when searching for employment. So research is a huge common thread throughout the Global experience. I was also able to study in Florence, Italy, basically live in a beautiful apartment and eat my weight in gelato, as well as do incredible study trips to London, Berlin, Vienna, Hungary, and 2 incredible weeks in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Possibly would have never thought without Global. Terrence asked me to speak about my Europe experience, but I also want to give a bit about the junior year. I was able, sorry, I think I'm cutting out a bit because my Wi-Fi is a bit spotty out here in the woods. Yeah, my junior experience, I studied my fall semester in China, where I studied intense Mandarin and had week-long courses in Shanghai and Beijing. I was meant to go back for a second semester in the spring of this year, but due to COVID, I was able to adapt quickly with the university and spend nearly 2 months in Australia. So the university reacted very well to the coronavirus pandemic, and I was able to kind of shift gears and study in Australia, which was incredible. I went from living in a city of 9 million in Hangzhou, China, to living in a town, a couple thousand in Australia, for returning to the United States. So now I'll pass it off to Danny, who can give a bit of a perspective on the freshman year.
Hi everyone, I'm Danny. I'm Mexican, so I'm an international student. I'm right now talking to you from Mexico City. When I found out about the Global program, I was over the moon excited. I mean, I never knew that something like this existed, and I was very excited to just go and have a different college experience that what we see in movies and all of that from the US college experience. Right now I should be in Costa Rica, but because of the pandemic COVID-19 situation, we are unable to travel. But just as Caitlin said, I feel that the college has really come through with the different options for studying on Zoom. I actually was talking about this with Terrence the other day. I am so in love with my bachelor degree. It's even more than I expected. And I just feel that for all the things that I want to know, I'm learning more than I was expecting to learn. And I know that when I get the chance to travel, I will have an even better experience and just get a lot of experience throughout the world and become a truly global citizen. I'm just really happy about this bachelor degree, and I hope that any of you can just join us for the next semester.
Okay, thank you to both to Caitlin and to Danny, and I think we can turn it over to the next panel, the next university.
Thank you, Terrence. Fascinating course of study that we're all very glad to hear about. I'm going to invite Michaela Beagle from Bryn Mawr College to talk to us.
Amazing, thank you so much. I'm really appreciative. I'm going just a little bit early because I will have to hop off the call around 1. So I'm not sure I'll make it to the Q&A, but I have a slide that I can share which has my information on it if I've been given permission, so that any students can reach out to me afterwards with any questions in case I don't make it to the Q&A.
Permission given, Michaela.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so I'm just going to give a brief overview about Bryn Mawr. So Bryn Mawr is a suburban liberal arts college located in Philadelphia. We are really excited to be a community of learners that is first and foremost focused on building a women's college community for female identified people and some students of other marginalized gender identities as well, who find home on our campus. Sort of logistically speaking, we are a community of just under 1,400 undergraduates with some graduate programs as well. And we're located in the town of Bryn Mawr, which is about a 20-minute train ride from Philadelphia city center. So we really are in the heart of everything that's going on. We enjoy very close relationships with some other colleges in the area, including Swarthmore, who you heard from earlier, and Haverford, who I'm assuming you're going to hear from in just a little bit. And we're really proud to be in our Tri-College Consortium with those communities and expanding our students' professional, social, and academic opportunities as a result. Some brief sort of statistics about us is that we're a small community. We are pleased that we're able to offer our students a 9-to-1 student to faculty ratio, as well as just deep opportunities for learning and collaboration with professors in terms of research, independent studies, and project-based learning. We are pleased to say that 100% of our students graduate from college having completed either a senior capstone or a thesis project, depending on their discipline, which is unique to some smaller schools as well. So in addition to that, one sort of aspect of that we're really proud of is that we get to say that we graduate over 2.5 times the national average of degrees awarded to women in STEM. And just about 30% of our students are students in STEM degrees. So we do have a really big focus on STEM majors at Bryn Mawr, and we're sort of known for that amongst our fellow women's colleges. So beyond that, we really value service at Bryn Mawr. So our students really are looking to build a creative and collaborative community both on campus and off campus. And we are offering about 80+ service opportunities as a part of a Bryn Mawr education. Beyond that, we also see that about 79% of our students will complete an internship or a research opportunity during their time at Bryn Mawr, which is really exciting to us. And you know, sort of, I was listening to the tail end of the panel, and something that I thought was really interesting was talking about, you know, why Quaker colleges are different, and sort of that breaking down of those steps to equity that the representative, our colleagues were talking about. And sort of asking how we do that. And one way we do that at Bryn Mawr, among many ways, is that we actually are able to award about $750,000 annually in funding for our students to complete off-campus or on-campus research during the summer or internships. Because we know that a lot of students aren't able to take that time to be away from their families, not working during the summer, or say they have a great opportunity in another state that is unfunded, because a lot of the internships we have in this country are unfunded. We want our students to be able to get there. So that's one way that we're working to break down some of those barriers of entries in academia, with the understanding, of course, that there's only so much money. So we've chosen really to highlight that. And because of our service opportunities and because of our high percentage of students that are completing research or internships across various disciplines, we're really pleased to report that our students report a 97% statistic of having a positive career outcome just 1 year after graduation. And we also credit that in part to our really incredible alumni network, who are always working to look after our current students and our research graduates to make sure that they are a part of the Bryn Mawr community and that they are cared for and thought about as they're taking that first steps into postgraduate life. Say you graduate college and you really don't want to go into that positive career track just yet, you don't feel like you're done. At Bryn Mawr, we're really excited to offer just over 20 combined degree programs, and that is both on our campus, on the Bryn Mawr campus, but additionally in partnership with the University of Pennsylvania, in partnership with universities abroad, like the University of Aberystwyth in Cardiff, Wales. So our students really don't have to be done with college after undergrad. And we're really excited to offer that opportunity to students who are really excited about getting their master's right away. And more than that, we're proud that we get to offer that opportunity to students in a variety of disciplines. So it's not just for engineering majors, it's not just for social studies majors. We really do have a lot of opportunities for students across the disciplines to pursue postgraduate work in a 4+1 style, which we're really excited about. Looking towards the more social aspect of campus, we do see that we have 130 plus student clubs and organizations for our students to take part in. And of course, like at most schools, if there isn't a club that strikes your fancy, you're always free to create one or get involved with one on one of our partner college campuses. One other thing that is really exciting about Bryn Mawr is sort of as a evidence of our sort of Quaker roots, we are really pleased that our students are dedicated to the community's history and legacy that is taking place on campus every day. So we have one of the oldest student governments in the world. It was in the country, excuse me. It was founded in 1892. Our students are automatically enrolled as a participating member of our student government when they're enrolled at the college. And our students do take that very seriously. So every year our students are making real legitimate decisions about the community that have an impact on them and the people around them. So we're really pleased that we're able to provide that space for students to put their knowledge and ideas into action and practice on their college campus, with the exciting understanding that colleges, as new students come in every year, are always facing renewal and growth, which is super exciting for us and for our students. Like many of our peers, we are also a Division III sports campus, and we do offer just about 12 NCAA Division III sports teams for students to be a part of. You can find more information about that on our website or by emailing me directly. As a women's college, one thing we don't offer is football. So if you're interested in football, Bryn Mawr is maybe not the place for you. We also really believe in expansive education opportunities. So we see that just over 21% of our students are international students from 44 different countries. We see that 31% of our students approximately will do a semester abroad per grade. So about 31% of that grade will do a semester abroad. And we do offer about 90 pre-approved study abroad programs. And we offer some immersive fieldwork programs as well as a part of our 360-degree program, which are covered at cost by the college. So students are able to travel for a week to do a fieldwork component of a larger course cluster covered by the college, and they're not going to pay anything extra for that, which is another really exciting way that Bryn Mawr is committed to figuring out how we can break down some barriers in education financially. And I'll just sort of end with just the basic statistics, which is that, you know, at Bryn Mawr, we are small. Like I said, we enrolled for the class of 2023, 374 students. We saw that 16% of those students are first generation. We do have about 32% of students of color on our campus as well. And we do see that 72% of our students receive some form of financial aid, but at Bryn Mawr, we are committed to meeting 100% of demonstrated financial need, and that is not something that has changed with COVID. Although, like our peers were saying earlier, how we're thinking about that internally may change. It's not changing at all for the fact that our students are still going to have 100% of their demonstrated need met. So we are really excited about that. Yeah, so that's Bryn Mawr in a nutshell. I hope if students are interested, they'll send me an email and I can teach you how to be more involved and figure out if Bryn Mawr is the right community for you to join.
Thank you, Michaela, for that overview of things, particular aspects of Bryn Mawr for our audience to know about. I am going to invite Susan Hillman, Earlham College, to talk to us.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob. It's nice to be here with all of you today. And I would like to just quickly go through a slideshow. Whoops, I need to have permission. So we're working on that.
You have access, Susan.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. I am a graduate of the college and graduated in 1993 with a major in Spanish, and I lived in Latin America for 7 years after that. Married a Colombian, actually put my Spanish degree to work, and when the political situation got bad, my husband said, well, let's move to the United States. Like, yay, I'm going back to Earlham without even thinking about, yeah. So I managed to get a job here, and I've been working here 20 years and just love talking to students about Earlham. To quickly acknowledge that the land that Earlham is on was the traditional land of the Osage Shawnee Miami people. Earlham is a really amazing place that when people say, describe it in 2 words, I say, well, it's somewhere between mystical and magical. And I truly believe that amazing things can happen. As a collaborative learning community, we inspire and motivate our students by offering creative, transformative opportunities and experiences. Our goal for you is that you will become a catalyst for good in a changing world. We have very dedicated faculty, as Kareem has already talked about, who all have their PhDs, but welcome your ideas and thoughts. When someone asks, well, how, a lot of people talk about community and respect. How is it really different at a Quaker school? To me, it's the combination of all of these things that empower that Quaker essence of education and real intentional creation of space for students to grow and develop, take charge of their education, be deeply involved in it. You will be challenged, you will be supported, you will actively participate, you get to choose your classes, your major. You have until the end of your 2nd year to actually declare your major or create one, as Kareem created his minor. Very globally connected, even though we are in Richmond, Indiana, so we're right between Indianapolis, Indiana, and Dayton, Ohio, right on the Indiana border. We do have a lot of connections all around the world. 22% of our students are international, coming from over 60 countries, and in addition to faculty who are from many places around the world as well. Another 24% of our students are domestic students, multicultural students. So even though we are in Indiana, the diversity on campus is very high, and we that's intentional. Again, we work at that. So our principles and practices, when we talk about Earlham, we do say Quaker principles and practices because it's the combination of these things, again, that will really create the context in which you will have your education at Earlham. We offer over 40 majors and minors. We have an amazing new facility for our science and technology. And in the back of campus, we have a new Center for Visual and Performing Arts. So we have some really wonderful, we finally have art studios, yay, that are worthy of the name studio. Our biggest programs on campus as far as the number of students would be biology, computer science, global management, which is our business program, and psychology. But we have had for at least 60 years now interdisciplinary programs such as human development and social relations, which we now call social services. International studies, peace and global studies is a really intense program at Earlham, as you might imagine. You do have until the end of your second year to declare your major. You're not wasting time in those 2 years. You're discovering, you're taking new classes that maybe you didn't have a chance to in high school. You do have an academic advisor. You work closely with the advisor. There also are academic resources on campus, so a quantitative reasoning center, a writing center, peer tutoring, and there are disability services as well. We like to talk about our learning outcomes. You know, we say our students go on to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, why are they so successful? And these are what we focus all 4 years on, whether it's from your beginning senior or your seminars, your first year seminars, all the way through your capstone experience. We're really emphasizing your ability to communicate effectively, persuasively, having done research, knowing what resources are good for you, to integrate your knowledge and experiences that you're having, diversify your experiences. We want you to try something new while you're there. To be creative and innovative is really important. And then the Quaker part, I think, is reflection. Takes time to really consolidate what you're learning, and then all for going out into the world and making the world a better place. A way for you to integrate your ideas and thoughts and maybe a variety of things you're interested in is through our EPIC centers, which is the Earlham program for an integrated curriculum. So let's say you're interested in being a doctor, you want to do something in global health, so you can work through maybe do public health work in Costa Rica or Latin America, and our social justice center. Even if you are, let's say, for example, a geology major, but you're very interested in social justice, you can still be involved in that. And we often, well, when we could, take students to DC to work with FCNL to learn how to lobby or do community service work right in Richmond. We're very pleased to be able to guarantee every student up to $5,000 for an internship or a research opportunity one time during their time at Earlham. And they go around the world to do this. So in 2019, we had students in 22 states and 18 countries doing their internships. And you get to choose what they are and write your proposal, and you can get up to $5,000. About 65% of our students study abroad, and you can see the wide range here of where students can go for a whole semester. We do have 1 year-long program in Japan. Your financial aid will apply to 1 program. Again, trying to make it possible for all students to be able to study abroad and get that experience while they're at Earlham. Some of these programs are led by Earlham faculty, so you imagine spending a whole semester with an Earlham faculty and maybe 18 other students. It's a really intense but amazing experience. Over 60 clubs and organizations. You can see the variety here. And as someone already mentioned, of course, if you don't see something you want to do, or if you don't see something there that you really love doing, you can create it. So all of these at one point were created by students. And again, are intentionally creating space for you to create and be innovated. Our religious life on campus, we are a Quaker school. You do not have to be a Quaker to come to Earlham. With our large international student population and students from all across the United States, we have a sizable group of Buddhists on campus, Muslim students, Jewish students, Hindu. Everyone is welcome at Earlham. I did want to highlight that we do have a Quaker Fellows program. It's a Quaker leadership development program based on a cohort model. So you'll work with another 10 or 15 in each year, working with our director of religious life and some Quaker student interns from the seminary. So it carries an additional $2,500 scholarship on top of your other financial aid, and there's enhanced financial aid packaging. Division 3, these are the sports that we offer. Again, we're all looking forward to be able to getting out and actually play our sports once the pandemic has been resolved. We really do focus on students being students first, scholars first, and then athletes, but we appreciate what athletes bring to our campus. As was already mentioned, we do not have sororities and fraternities. We have theme houses and friendship houses. We have 8 dormitories. We have along the edge of campus actual houses that students can petition to live in, and then we have apartments in the back of campus. So we're located in Richmond, Indiana, which, as I mentioned, is between Indianapolis and Dayton. In the Dayton airport's 45 minutes from campus. It's all interstate. Richmond's a really interesting town in that in the early 1900s, it had a very high number of millionaires who lived here. It was founded by the Quakers. And now, as most Midwest cities have experienced their kind of people moving out, factories leaving. So there's a lot of work to do in Richmond. We always tell our students, we use a Common App or the Earlham application. It's free to apply to Earlham, no application fee. We will automatically consider you for merit aid based on your grades, or your grades and your test scores. And I did want to point out that we've implemented a no harm test score policy. So if a student does submit the test score and it would pull their merit aid down, we won't consider the test score and leave the merit aid where it would be based on just the grades. So that's something I think really speaks to our commitment to equity and inclusion, and trying to help people get as much financially as needed. And then the need-based aid based on FAFSA. 2 decision deadlines this year, try to make it easy. So early action December 1, regular decision March 1. We do have almost 93% of our students from 2019 were either employed, studying, or doing volunteer. So we're really pleased with that. And just as I'm finishing up here, some of our students and what they're doing, I did want to point out Sumaya Tora, who's from Afghanistan, came to Earlham. She successfully competed for a Rhodes Scholarship, and this fall is at the University of Oxford. She's our 2nd Rhodes Scholar in 4 years. We're very proud of all of them. So I'll put my information in the chat box, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. We're getting a lot of useful information about Earlham today, I think. I'm going to invite Jordan Audette from Friends University.
All right. Well, actually, Jordan's not going to be here today. My name's Grant. She's our director. I'm one of the admissions counselors, so she's having me speak to you guys today. I'm not sure if I have access to share my screen or not. It doesn't look like I do right now. TJ, if you don't mind sharing that access with me.
You have access, Grant. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. All right. Let me go ahead and bring up, I have a slideshow for you here. Okay. I think it should be sharing here. Is everyone seeing that?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, again, I'm from Friends University, which is actually located in Wichita, Kansas. This is our first time being here with you guys, because obviously from Wichita all the way to Philadelphia is a bit of a trek. So we're, as much as COVID has made a lot of things not so ideal, this actually was kind of nice for us. So we were able to participate with you guys since it was done virtually. So thank you for the invite. I wanted to share, this is a picture of our campus here. It's a very recent shot. I think it was taken just right around when COVID started. So we actually are located right in the heart of Wichita. And for those of you that don't know much about Kansas or Wichita, which again, I'm not surprised if you don't, we are actually the biggest city in the state of Kansas. Everyone automatically assumes Kansas City, but actually, you may or may not know, but Kansas City is actually comprised of Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. So Kansas City, Kansas is smaller than Wichita, Kansas. Wichita has, our whole metro area is about 500,000 people living here. And as you can kind of see, we are located right in the downtown. There's some of the downtown bigger buildings right there. But yeah, so we have been around since 1898. We actually were founded by the Quakers, hence the name Friends University. But actually since we have, really since then, we have actually opened up. So we are considered more of a non-denominational Christian university now. We still do have that Quaker heritage, that Quaker roots that we're proud of, but we don't require just strictly Quaker students to attend Friends. We do allow, again, not more non-denominational and students that don't have any affiliation with any religious organization. But yeah, there's a nice little shot here of our campus. This is the oldest building here on campus that was built actually even before Friends was founded. It was built in 1886, so it's been around quite a while. That's where our admissions office is. A little bit about who we are. So we have about 800 traditional undergraduate students on campus, and then our total enrollment is actually gonna be closer to 2,000 when we include in our master's programs, and we do have adult undergraduate, which is mostly gonna be online classes as well as evening classes. But for our traditional undergraduates, we have about 800. So it definitely creates a nice small classroom environment. Our average classroom size is about 10 students, so 10-to-1 student ratio, which is really nice to allow for that good small classroom experience. Like I mentioned, again, we were founded in 1898 with independent Quaker heritage, but now we are non-denominational. We actually have a nice representation of, so we're not just a lot of Kansas students here, Wichita students. We actually have 38 different states represented, as well as 21 different countries and territories. So we do have a nice international student population as well. And we just get students really from all over the country coming to Friends, which is pretty cool. Obviously, we do have a lot from the Midwest and from Kansas and even the Wichita area, but we do love all of our students that come from outside of Kansas and the Wichita area. These are just a handful of programs that we offer. We do have a total of over 60 different programs that you can study at Friends, but these are just a few that are, I would say, kind of more popular ones, or just some more kind of unique ones to Friends. I'll speak to us about a couple of these here. So we do have a ballet program that we especially from the Midwest. I know a lot of you guys are on the East Coast, so that's probably decently common to have a ballet program on the East Coast, but here in the Midwest, it actually is not very common to have that. So we're pretty proud about that. It's actually opened up to be even not just ballet, but a dance as well. So, having more jazz or contemporary dance, things like that as well. We have a cybersecurity program that's one of our newer programs. It actually, it's been around for about 3 years now, and we're just one of a handful of universities in the country to have a cybersecurity lab on our campus. And obviously right now, with just the world we live in, there's so much sensitive information available on the internet for hackers to hopefully not, but a lot of times it happens, they end up hacking information. So really right now, cybersecurity is a huge degree as far as a need for that. So that's one thing that's really nice, is we do have that program, and it's doing really well, and we're really happy to have that. We actually even have a Air Force base here in Wichita as well, McConnell Air Force Base, and we have some cool partnerships with them where students can get some additional training even through the military and with Air Force and things like that too, which is great. And we also have a zoo science program, which we're one of 3 in the whole nation to have zoo science. A lot of universities have zoology, which is a little different than zoo science. Zoo science is specifically for students that are wanting to work in a zoo setting. So maybe you want to be a zookeeper, or again, be any other type of role there at a zoo. But we do partner with it's called the Sedgwick County Zoo. It's one of the largest zoos in the whole country. it's always ranked in like the top 10, top 15 zoos in America. So it's really, really nice, and it's awesome because you get to actually work at the zoo. You do your classes, a lot of them at the zoo. You get internships with the zoo, and a lot of times, you know, there's a job at our zoo waiting for you, or we have students that now work at the San Diego Zoo, St. Louis Zoo, some, you know, the Omaha Zoo, some of these really nice zoos across America. So that's one thing that's this program here actually does attract a lot of students from across the country, just because it is such a unique, such a niche type program, and we're one of the only schools to offer it. As far as housing goes, so we do have on-campus housing available, and a lot of students take advantage of it. As a freshman, you are required to live on campus in Green Hall. All of our freshmen live in Green Hall. It is 2 floors, so we have a male floor and a female floor. There are like visitation hours, so you can, you know, visit people of the opposite gender, but once those visitation hours are done for the day, you are required to go back to your floor. But yeah, it's really nice. We've actually been ranked 23rd in the nation as far as for student satisfaction and housing, #1 in the state of Kansas. So we definitely pride ourselves on that too, that we do have just nice housing and students enjoy living on campus. There's also lots of activities that are associated with our residence halls too. So just lots of events going on, lots of good community. And again, it's cool because after freshman year, again, students aren't required to live on campus, but a lot of our students end up doing that just because they had such a great experience their freshman year, and they really just love you know, being on campus, having that good community. And again, the housing options are nice too. So we do have upperclassmen housing available. They're all apartment style housing, either a single or double room. Our freshman one housing is very much apartment or like a suite style. So you can actually have up to 6 students in one suite. So there's 3 bedrooms, so it'd be 2 roommates per bedroom. We have 2 bathrooms. We have a living space, a kitchen. So it's a very large space there. But then after freshman year, if you want to live on campus, you're either going to be with a single roommate, just, you know, with one other person, or in a single room by yourself. We do give out academic scholarships to every single student that comes to Friends. It's not something you have to apply for. It's just as soon as you send us, well, of course, your application, which is a free application as well. It's available online on our website. So if you submit an application and you send us your transcript, whether, again, straight from high school, if you're a senior in high school, or if you're considering transferring colleges, you would just send us your college or however many colleges you maybe have been to, send us those transcripts. And just based off of your GPA, your cumulative GPA, we will assign you one of these scholarships. Due to COVID, we have waived the ACT SAT requirement. We used to also include that, and that would, again, be another thing that plays in besides just a GPA. We would also be looking at your ACT or SAT score and figure out which one you would qualify for. But now we are just going basically just off of your GPA. One of the other schools mentioned this too, but if you do have an ACT or SAT score that you're able to take that test and you got a score, you can send it to us, and if it's going to help you, we will definitely take it. If it was going to hurt your scholarship and maybe give you a lower scholarship, we can waive it. So it wouldn't actually hurt for you to send us an ACT or SAT if you do have that. But this is a per year amount here, anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000 per year. And they're renewable scholarships as long as you at least have a 2.0 while you're here at Friends. So as long as you're maintaining a 2.0 or higher, you're going to continue getting your academic scholarship. So you can kind of look at the GPAs there, and, you know, I'm sure you have an idea of what your GPA is right now. You can look at there and see what scholarship you would qualify for. A couple other scholarships that we offer. So a lot of our students at Friends are either athletic students or what we call fine arts students. And fine arts doesn't always mean you're majoring in something fine art or even minoring. It could be that you're a participant. So as far as athletics go, we have a lot of different sports that we offer at Friends. We're part of the NAIA, so we're not NCAA, but we're NAIA. We have basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, track and field, cross country, wrestling, men's and women's wrestling. We have men's and women's golf, tennis. I feel like I'm even maybe missing one or two, but you can look on our website and see what all the different sports that we offer. So that would be an additional scholarship if you are an athlete on top of your academic. And then fine arts, again, like I mentioned, you don't have to major in these things. If you do, you'll obviously get a scholarship as well, and maybe a potential little bit more scholarship. But if you are involved in anything and want to be involved in anything along the lines of art, so 2D, 3D art, graphic design, photography, anything along those lines. Theater, whether that's just regular theater or musical theater. Vocal music, we have 2 separate choirs. Our top choirs are the Singing Quakers. They're actually a world-renowned choir. There's 70 people in it. They've done some amazing things. They go on tours every year. Every other year they go out of the country. So it wasn't this last summer, and obviously it wouldn't have been last summer even if it was scheduled, but it was the summer before that. They actually went to Austria, Italy, and did some awesome touring up there while they were singing in beautiful cathedrals, and yeah, they had an amazing time. So we do have choirs as well. We have bands, just regular concert band and jazz band. We do have a really great jazz program at Friends, and we also have our orchestra. So again, even if you're just a participant, you don't want to be a vocal performance major, a music major, anything like that. You're just like, I want to sing in the choir, or I want to do this or that. You can still get scholarships, which is pretty unique. Not all schools do that. I'm sure we're not the only one, but I think there's probably less of us than there are more of us. So that's one thing we pride ourselves on. And also too, if you're an athlete and you also, let's say, sing in the choir, that's 3 large scholarships you can get right there from your academic, your athletics, and your fine arts, which is pretty cool. And these are stacking scholarships. A couple of our other institutional scholarships that are going to be a little bit smaller, but as we know, everything does matter in college as far as every little bit of money. Legacy means if by chance any of your parents ever attended Friends, whether it was for their undergrad, their master's, even if they didn't graduate but just attended, they're going to get that legacy scholarship. Ministerial means if you are if your parent is a full-time pastor, whether that's a head pastor, youth pastor, a children's pastor, worship pastor, if they're working full-time at a church, you're going to receive that ministerial scholarship. Church match means if your church that you attend gives out any scholarships and you are going to be a recipient of one of those scholarships, we will match your church's contribution up to $500. So if they want to be more generous than that and give you, let's say, $1,000, that's awesome. We'll give you $500 and you would get a $1,500 church match scholarship. Midwest Exchange. So those are states, oh my goodness, let me think if I can remember all of them. I believe it is Minnesota, Wisconsin, South Dakota, Illinois, Indiana might be on there, but it's a handful of, again, Midwest states outside of Kansas. If you're from one of those states, if you have a question about it, I can double check here and see what all different states this covers, but you get a 10% tuition reduction coming to Friends, which is pretty awesome. We see definitely a good amount of students. Minnesota is another one. And we see a lot of students taking advantage of this. So if you're from one of those states, or if you have a question about which state that is, I'll do a little digging on that once I'm done here. Young Life. I know Young Life is available across the country. I don't know about in your guys' area if it's as prevalent or not, but it's a non-denominational Christian group for high school students. But if you've been a part of Young Life, or if maybe now you're just now hearing about it, so you look them up and you decide to be a part of Young Life, you'll receive a $1,000 scholarship at Friends. All these scholarships are renewable too, by the way. They're going to be a per year scholarship. And our last one is Summit Ministries, which is a conference that goes on in Manitou Springs, Colorado every summer. Actually, I think there's a couple different locations. Manitou Springs is the closest one to us, but I believe there are other ones that could be closer to you as well. You can check on their website, I believe it's summitministries.org.com, or just Google them. But if you go up to this conference and participate there, it does cost money to attend the conference. But if you go one time, you're going to receive a $2,500 scholarship from Friends every year that you're at Friends. So it could be up to $10,000 there if you're here for 4 years, just for going to the conference one time. It is a Christian conference. It's almost apologetics in a way, where you really are learning about, different ways, like different things that, as far as kind of defending your faith a little bit, and how to, kind of weave that into your life, and how do you discuss your faith with other people, and not sometimes apologetics gets kind of a bad rap, but they really do it in a way that's not coming off as very super confrontational. They want to make it more of a relational, more of a conversation with your faith, especially when you're in college. That's something that will come up. So it's just good to have some of those practices, and it's just fun too. They do a lot of fun things at this conference as well, and it's for, I believe, 16-year-olds up to even like 22-year-olds. So it's not just for high school students, but it's also for college students. This is just a page too, just showing our financial aid information. If you haven't filled out a FAFSA yet and you're a senior, it is available. Definitely do that. At least try it for your first year. If it doesn't end up being super helpful for you, that's fine. But we always encourage our incoming freshmen to fill out the FAFSA and just see. A lot of times you'll be surprised at what all you might get as far as grants or loans. But that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions, I can look in the chat here and maybe get those answered for you. But again, I just want to say thank you for inviting us. This is our first time being here, and who knows what next year will bring, but if it's virtual, we'll definitely be here next year. And if it's back on the grounds, who knows, maybe I can have Jordan fly me out and see you guys. That would be awesome. But thank you again for having us.
Thank you, Grant. Friends University has been part of our written submission group, so we've always had materials on the table in the years I've been involved. But it is nice, as you said, to have a live person here, and who knows, maybe a local alum or something will be able to do the program in the future. Our last speaker, I'm going to invite Michael DeLeon of Haverford College.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you for having me here. I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen now for you all to get a look at this. Okay. Perfect. All right. So again, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I do have a hard stop in a few minutes, so I'm going to go through kind of quickly through this presentation. But again, I'm very excited to be able to introduce Haverford to many of you and sort of give a bit of an overview of who we are and what we value. My name is Michael DeLeon, and I am one of the assistant directors of admission at Haverford. I've been with the office only over about 2 months at this point, so I'm still fairly new, a spring chicken. But it's been amazing the time I've spent with the team, and I have a pretty unique relationship with Haverford myself. It's the first college that I ever visited when I was going through my college search process, and over 9 years later, I found my way back to Haverford. So it's super rewarding to be able to be here to speak with you about Haverford and sort of what I've grown to love about our community. These slides will kind of be like a backdrop of what I'm saying. So some of what I'm saying won't match exactly what's on the slides. I'm going to give you as much information as possible so that you walk away feeling like you really learned something. And of course, my goal here is not to persuade you to submit an application or to consider Haverford, but rather really to give you all the information that you need to make an informed decision when choosing which school is going to be right for you or for whoever in your family is going through the college search process. But at Haverford, as a small liberal arts college, you're going to find all the fundamental aspects of a liberal arts education. So we are highly residential under normal circumstances. We were actually lucky enough to have over 80% of our students return to campus this year, despite the pandemic. We are, of course, taking every precaution necessary, but the fact that about 70% of our housing is singles has definitely aided in that as well. We also have a very personalized student experience because we're a small college community, and we have, a small class size, 9-to-1 is the student to faculty ratio, and a focus on discussion in classrooms. About 40% of our faculty live on campus, which was really great because it creates a really warm and personal connection between staff, faculty, and students on campus, which is one thing I really love about Haverford. But what I want to harp on really is what distinguishes us from other institutions that are also small liberal arts colleges. And I think that is, the emphasis that we place on student voice and shared governance at Haverford. Students are, able to exercise agency over their academic and social experiences in really profound ways, and have so many opportunities to sort of shape their paths and make an impact. And in many ways, you know, student voice and engagement will show up in different features I explain about the student experience, but it's really reflective of our college's Quaker history, which you'll be able to see as well throughout this session. But I think the first place that you're able to see sort of our emphasis on student voice and shared governance is in the admissions process. So really, we like to emphasize the personal essay and interviews throughout the admission process. We really want to get to know the student and have their voice come through the application. While academics are primary, given that we are highly selective, we use those more personal pieces of the application to amplify the student's voice and gain additional context as well. So we really encourage students to interview if possible. We have more interview availability now than ever, and to really focus on that essay, because it's our way of getting to hear their voices, you know, through this process. You know, we are also another institution that meets 100% of the demonstrated need of students that are admitted. You know, we are also, you know, determined to reduce the rate of student indebtedness. We recognize, especially now, that financial fit is extremely important for students and for families. Our Office of Financial Aid is incredible. They've been working one-on-one with a lot of families to really iron out some of those specific situations and circumstances that you're dealing with. So please contact our Office of Financial Aid if you have any specific questions. They have been amazing and really great with working one-on-one with families. And another thing I'd like to highlight is that, you know, we have one of the lowest rates of student indebtedness in the country, usually between about $12,000 to $15,000, and that's something I like to really highlight for students as well going through this process. But I do want to talk briefly about sort of the student experience as it relates to student voice, as I mentioned before, being something that we really value and that I think really sets us apart from other communities. So our students manage an activities budget of over $500,000 and serve on nearly every committee across departments, and that's also including hiring committees, which I think is really incredible, the way that we're able to fold our students into some of those higher level processes at the college. And student voice and shared governance, I think, is really best exemplified through our honor code. So you'll find that most honor codes that you ever hear of are like a list of rules, and they're meant to be more restrictive and focus solely on academics. But at Haverford, neither of those things are true. Our honor code is completely student run, and it really denotes the academic and social values and expectations that we want everyone in our community to uphold. So as I was saying before, it is student driven. We have an honor council, which is comprised of 16 students, 4 from each class year. And the best example I can give of this honor code is a few years ago, a student realized that something that wasn't a resource on campus was gender neutral bathrooms. And they took a resolution or sort of like an amendment to the honor council and talked about how that is a value that they have, that they feel that we should share as a community, and welcoming everyone into this space, and having, you know, resources available to them. In the following semester, there were gender neutral bathrooms in every residence hall on campus. So really, you know, amazing how students are able to take action. And that really just creates an environment on campus where students and staff like respect and trust and have compassion for each other. And, you know, beyond this, just to give you an idea of academics at Haverford, we have 41 majors, 30 minors, and 13 concentrations. Not many students double major because every student does a senior thesis. Some students do if they feel that passionately, but students oftentimes, you know, opt to do one major and then a minor and a concentration, and some variation of those as well. These are some of the top majors that we have. This list is pretty stagnant. It shifts in terms of the ranking of each of these majors every year. Political science is usually at the top though. And then we also have these amazing academic centers, which really provide the base for a lot of the academic and social experiences that students have. You know, and these centers really provide a number of community engagement opportunities that are both local and international, and allow students who are passionate about peace and social justice and global affairs to get involved in summer internships through fellowships. There's a lot of funding available to students who want to do their research, and we really push students to take advantage of these these opportunities and these resources that are at their disposal. We have a number of collaborative partnerships in Philadelphia that we offer to students that we're happy to fund as well and sort of facilitate those connections. And then also a lot of funding available for students who are doing individual research projects, who want to travel to conferences, to present or to listen to some peers present. So a lot of great opportunities to do research. And these just highlight some of those specific examples of students being able to do research, both locally and domestically, oftentimes throughout the country. I brought this up earlier, but the senior thesis, similar to Bryn Mawr, all of our students completed a senior thesis, and we think it's really important that our students all get that experience of producing some original scholarly work. So that's something that we're very proud of as well. And 40% of our students study abroad each year. It's generally, very popular among students. And I think the great thing is that they have, students have the option of studying abroad for a semester, or also taking advantage of some of those other opportunities to do research or take a course or do a program, either locally, domestically, or internationally. There was one student who studied HIV prevention in South Africa, and that wasn't a part of their study abroad experience. They didn't want to study abroad, but they did want to travel and conduct some research, so they took advantage of that opportunity as well. And the last thing I really want to touch on is sort of our location. 30 minutes outside of the city of Philadelphia is a really great location, and we're really proud of the relationship that we have with the city. And I'd also like to talk about our relationship with all of our neighboring institutions, and how we make up the Quaker Consortium, which is sort of an academic and social partnership that we have with Bryn Mawr, Swarthmore, and the University of Pennsylvania. So our students have the unique opportunity to take classes on these other campuses, in some cases to major, specifically at Bryn Mawr, if they find a major that is not being offered at Haverford. For example, we share a theater program with Bryn Mawr, so a student who wants to major in theater is able to take classes at Bryn Mawr as well, and even major in some cases, which I think is a really cool opportunity. And besides that, there are clubs and organizations that exist across all of these institutions, so you're able to meet up with students from different campuses, but our students are also just able to travel to their campuses to eat in their dining halls, to bond with their professors, and they can even make one of their professors at Bryn Mawr or at Swarthmore one of their advisors, which is a super cool opportunity for students to build some connections across campuses. And we have a lot of, accelerated degree partnership programs as well for students interested in bioethics, engineering, finance, Latin American, Iberian, and Latino studies, and China studies. So really great opportunities for students to do a 4+1 program, or get their master's degree in 5 years, and get a degree not only from Haverford, but also either University of Pennsylvania, or these other colleges and universities that are listed here. And just a bit about social life. Although we're located so closely to Philly, we're very campus driven. So a lot of students stay on campus on the weekends because there's so much to do. And it is gorgeous. It's a really gorgeous campus. There's a first year housing program for students. Students do live on singles for their first year, and they live with other first years in their hall, but there's also an upperclassman living there with them that is meant to not be an authority over them during their time, but really to provide guidance to them throughout their first year at Haverford. And of course, from there, there's upper class housing and community housing available to students as well. A number of clubs and organizations for students to join. Again, some of these opportunities are also existing across the consortium, which is really cool as well. We have 23 varsity sports. A little over 50% of our students are on varsity sports teams, which is also really great. We're a Division III school. And some of our outcomes, a lot of our students continue their education after Haverford. And although we don't offer a business focus, a lot of students end up venturing into business for their careers, which is really cool and really speaks to, the value of a liberal arts education. And something I've really always appreciated about, what we've been able to produce and producing some of these ethical leaders that go off and do really amazing things. So that's really, an overview that was really quick So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. Please contact me. There are a number of ways to continue engaging with us virtually. We offer Q&A sessions every week along with virtual tours led by current students on campus. And of course, you can also sign up for a Zoom interview with an admission officer, an alumni, or a senior on campus. And we also have some weekly specials that we offer to students. So the link is right at the bottom, have.to/visit, to be able to take advantage of some of those other virtual engagement opportunities. Here's an awkward moment where my face is also on the screen and on Zoom. So there's that, but here's my contact information. Please, contact me if you have any questions, if you want to learn any more. I'd be happy to work with you. But again, thank you so much for listening to my presentation today.
Thank you, Michael, for bringing to our attention the unique aspects of Haverford. Friends, we've been going for quite a long time, I know, and all of our college representatives today have invited questions and engagement in other electronic forum manners, but I don't want to foreclose if anyone has perhaps a more general kind of a question to our remaining representatives. Before we wrap up today, I'll give you that opportunity now. And feel free to unmute and speak. There are not that many of us.
Hey, what's one piece of advice you would give to seniors right now going through the college process as someone who has already gone through it?
I guess anyone who wants to answer that one, feel free.
I can jump in. This is not specific to LIU Global, but as someone who has gone through the admissions process, I would say, and maybe like admissions counselors don't agree, but I would say always feel comfortable asking for more money. I did that with Global. I leveraged other scholarships, and these schools want you too. Like, they want you to go there and want to compete with other schools. So I would say with not to be weird, but I would say feel comfortable asking for more, because the worst they
Any other thoughts on that very practical question that was raised about advice to seniors?
I would just say that remember that this is your process. It's not your mom or dad or grandma or aunt and uncle. It's your process. So yes, you want to listen to them, but and really this is where sort of like having practice sitting in quiet and listening to yourself can come in really handy. If after you visited several colleges, even if it's a virtual tour, and you have these choices in front of you, maybe just sit down and close your eyes and imagine yourself at Earlham, then imagine yourself at Guilford, then imagine yourself at Haverford, and see what comes up. See what responses come from within you about, yes, I could imagine myself there, or no, not really. That's just one part of the discernment process. And also remember, your experience is in your hands regardless of where you go. You can go to any amazing college and exceed all of your expectations or fail miserably. You can fail miserably at a great school. You could, so you are the driver. Whoever said that was beautiful. You are the driver of your experience, and the college creates opportunities for you, but you have to walk into that space and take advantage.
Thank you. Other questions before we wrap up? Well, I'd like to again thank everyone, all of our panelists, our college representatives, our audience. Special thanks, as always, to Philadelphia Yearly Meeting and Friends Association on Higher Education for sponsoring this event. TJ, we could not have done this without you. The disaster it would have been with me in charge of the tech is just beyond belief. But I think we covered a lot of material, a lot of good insights from a lot of different perspectives. And again, thank you to everyone. And we hope for our students and their families that we've given some useful information today. Everyone be well and safe. And I appreciate your involvement in this process. Thank you.